This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Head to nordvpn/blokes and use the discount code blokes and you'll get 71% off a 2-year plan, plus an extra free month and a free gift. What do you know about VPNs, Dan?
Bargain. I'm going to use that myself. I actually use NordVPN, believe it or not.
Nice.
Got family who live overseas and they would remind me all the time, I can't get this, I can't access that, I can't. I said, get a VPN.
Yeah.
Which VPN should I get? I said, just use NordVPN. I said, it's the best one. I said, and he said, can you set it up for me? Sure enough, set it all up, sending the codes and everything. And
easy to do.
Very easy to do. Yeah,
nice.
I did it remotely. And but to use a VPN, for me, I mean, I use one myself as well. Whenever I log in, it's security on it's great.
Yeah,
so it's, I can watch stuff from different parts of the world which you wouldn't be able to access if you just go and especially when I used to live in the Middle East and all using a VPN there was just
Netflix, Amazon Prime, all that sort
everything.
of stuff.
You can access there's a lot of, especially if you're traveling as well.
Yeah, country
to country, there's a lot of restrictions what you can do to access certain things in other countries.
Yeah.
But NordVPN's the best one for me. It is anyway.
Nice. Keeps your data.
It's great that they're a sponsor of the show as well now.
Keeps your data safe then, I guess.
Yep.
Right then. So don't forget, head to NordVPN, type in /blokes, type in discount code blokes, and you'll get 71% off a 2-year subscription with a free month and a free gift.
71%. It's almost free.
I know you'd be crackers not to, wouldn't you? Right. Cheers for that one, guys. Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. Mike has got his headphones on.
Absolutely, I'm ready to go.
And I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Collectively, we're the Office Blokes.
We're
after a new intro for our little channel. It's maybe about 10 seconds long. Use the same music, but you can mess with the music. Just change it up a bit.
Yeah.
You never know. Email your submissions to officeblokesreact@gmail.com. We will do a video soon with the submissions, and then people can vote. We'll have final say.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Why not?
Yeah, and then it will be our intro for the foreseeable future on this channel. So
smashing.
Yeah, there you go. Right then,
good.
Why do we bash Americans?
I don't.
Is this Lost in the Pond?
Yep.
Right.
Right,
so
okay.
it should have a quite nuanced view of it then.
Yeah. Funny thing is though, at weekend, or yesterday specifically, I was talking to one of my mates who's just come back from Mexico, and I'm talking about going to Mexico. So I said to him, "Oh, I was Mexico, by the way. I'm looking at going myself in the next few weeks. It's one of the options we're looking at." And he went, "It was fine." He said, "But fucking hell, the Americans." I just started laughing to myself, and I went, "We just watched a video where it was like, people's take on it, sort of thing."
Yeah.
He said, "Not all of them." He said, "But there was a lot there that were just very." He said, "And I found the ones that were all right." And this is, swear to God, this is what he said. He went, "I actually found the ones that were all right were actually Canadian."
Oh my God! Wow!
I just burst out laughing. I was like, "Wow,
that's a bit." Wow, that's below the belt, isn't it?
I think part of it is they look exactly the same as us. Not all of them, obviously, but like you could encounter an American and until someone starts talking, they could be English, we could be American.
Yeah.
But there's cultural differences there. Yeah. For example, being louder and more confident in certain social situations. And I think that's why some people are just thrown off a little bit in European countries.
Yeah, I think going back to one of the videos that we did do about it, I think a lot of them are perceived to be a bit loud, a bit arrogant, a bit brash, aren't they? If that's what people's, a lot of people do think of them. I think that's probably why.
It's just cultural differences, isn't it, though?
Yeah, there is a few. I mean, it's very, very similar in a lot of ways, but maybe we just do things slightly differently as well. But, a lot of cultural differences, I suppose.
I think a lot of these things, if you insert any other person there, why do we bash, like, Mexicans, or why do we bash the Welsh, for example, or the English, or whatever? It is literally always comes down to just cultural differences, isn't it? We do it this way, you do it that way. That's alien to
I think
us,
a lot of it's sometimes the extremes of each nationality as well, and each extremes of each culture.
Yeah,
but like I say, a lot of the ways we are similar, and
I love meeting people in general, but I love meeting people who are different.
Yeah,
they're not your stereotypical sort of nationality or person or whatever it is. I just love people who've got their own opinion or their own way of living and their own ideology and their own comedy and everything, their own humour. And it's just that way. It's just these 10 of you around the table, you're having a great time, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
What race, religion, nationality, don't matter what you are. It's 10 of you. You've all got different things. You're all up for a good time. You can have a laugh.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you're right. I think if you're all exactly the same, then you don't want that, do you?
Yeah. Or if you've all got your own opinion, if you're all patriotic and got your own opinion of your country's the best and your religion's the best and your race is the best, you're not going to get on. It's going to be shit.
Yeah, you've got
I'm
to be
not sitting down
open.
with you. I'm going.
You've got to be open to
Yeah.
other people's cultural differences and all that sort
Yeah,
of stuff.
definitely, of course.
I think one of the perceptions as well is that all Americans are like gun-toting, sort of, very loud hillbilly types in pickup trucks and stuff. And it's like the whole country seems to have been pigeonholed
Well, you see it in
into
movies,
that
don't you?
for a
That's
lot
what
of
it is.
people,
That's what
doesn't
you
it?
see movies, a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh, let's get into
So
it.
maybe Hollywood's to blame then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, why do we bash Americans then? Let's do it.
Just running, pretending. I'm sitting down while running. It's not a valid form of exercise. Oh, hello. Guess what I've been doing this week? I've been reading Twitter. It's a big mistake. Nobody should ever do that. But while I was reading Twitter, came across this tweet. Take a look at that. Right, and it got me thinking, why do we bash Americans? And I don't mean we as in me and everyone else. And I don't just mean this, politically. There seems to be a tendency toward bashing Americans in general. Now, before I do continue, I should reiterate that, of course, this isn't all British people bashing all Americans all the time, but there is still, nonetheless, this tendency that happens there. And you wouldn't expect a restaurant to write this about other nations or other nationals from around the world, but somehow it's fair game with Americans, and that is something that I've never understood.
It is a very odd sign to have in an American diner in the UK. Love American hops but hate Americans.
Yeah.
It's like very, because people who go to an American diner are probably interested in American culture.
Absolutely.
They want some burgers and hot dogs and stuff, and they want to be in that sort of environment.
Absolutely. Don't get the whole sort of
It's like having a Chinese restaurant, isn't it? Saying the same.
Yeah,
Love Chinese food, but don't like the Chinese.
It's just
do it, would you?
a pretty bizarre thing to
very
say,
bizarre,
really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what you're doing there is as well. You're taking the authenticity away from the restaurant.
Precisely, yeah.
Because I would expect if I went to an American diner over here, I would expect someone associated with that diner to be an American.
Yeah, or at least have lived over there,
Yeah,
know
correct,
the culture,
correct.
stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So if you're just doing it as a gimmick,
Yeah.
which that
And then
obviously
you don't like
is.
it. I would walk out. I'd bin it off.
Yeah.
I would.
Like say you want the authenticity, don't you?
Yeah.
You've got in a place like that.
It just
Absolutely,
took me a
without
minute to process that statement.
what you mean, yeah,
while he was
yeah.
talking, and I was like, "Wait a minute, that's fucked up.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
well
It's a
bizarre."
stupid thing to say in business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Of course, now I understand it even less, having lived in America for 11 years and married to an American who would not take kindly to me saying such a thing. So, I just wanted to give some thought as to why we think it is fair game. In order to do so, we have to look historically at the relationship, the now apparently special relationship between Britain and America. And so, I think anti-American sentiment, if you want to call it that, among my British compatriots has existed for centuries. I mean, you could go back to the early colonization of what is now the United States. Even after that, take, for example, Samuel Johnson, the inventor of the original English dictionary in Britain. He was the precursor, I suppose, to Noah Webster in that sense. And, he had quite a strong anti-American sentiment to him. He's the very man, in fact, that said, I am willing to love all mankind except an American. And that's not all he said. I mean, that's not where it stopped. He also said, by his own choice, this was of somebody who would move to the continent of North America, or just the United States in general. By his own choice, he has left a country where he had a vote and little property for another where he has great property but no vote. And in many ways, that's sort of in line with King George III's idea that as a political entity, America had no hope, that it would go nowhere. And of course, then it did. It became independent from the British. You could almost argue that may have led to resentment, at least at that very time. I think if you were to talk to
I'm just getting comfy.
You're right there,
He's
Dave.
doing a lot of talking. So just getting...
people today, they may not even cite 1776 as a reason for their resentment against Americans, should they have that resentment. And that's quite an interesting point, right? So I'm not sure that all prejudice toward Americans today is even tied to history. In fact, to its detriment, it often ignores it. In the case of language, actually, quite often, as I've pointed out before, we ignore sort of the historical patterns behind language and how Americanisms came about from Britishisms. I've talked before about the word soccer having been coined actually in England, if you want to talk about lexicon. The same is true of certain spellings of words. Let's look at aluminum. We say and write aluminium back in the UK, and you say aluminum here. Well, aluminum was previously in use in the UK and was debated back and forth between members of the science circle there as to which one we should go with. And then similarly, when we're talking about pronunciation, a lot of Americans have a tendency to drop the H on herb, whereas the British tend to keep it, but that was not always the case. We started out by dropping the H on herb because of the French tendency to do so, just as we do with the words honour and hour and things of that ilk. But we stopped doing that just because it was becoming quite a class issue. If you were doing that in the UK, you were seen as unintelligent at one point. That memo never got spread over here in the United States, so they dropped it. And we ignore that fact when we criticise Americans from a linguistic point of view. And that's not where it ends. You could talk about sort of American stereotypes that have emerged. Americans are loud. We've talked about this before, but of course that is quite specific to certain things. And, just as it would be in reverse if we were to sort of stereotype my fellow countrymen for having bad teeth because of the depiction in Austin Powers, for example, not necessarily true of all British people. We do guide a lot of our things based on stereotypes. I'm talking now, of course, about the present day, having talked about the 18th century, but in between that, the relationship between the United States, or at least the political relationship between the United States and Great Britain, has changed, and specifically in and around World War II, when we sort of forged the aforementioned special relationship. You could still find quotes such as this, which was actually not by Winston Churchill. It's often said that Winston Churchill said it. He did not. There's no evidence for it, but the quote came out of somewhere. Somebody invented it, and so I think it's kind of a never-ending thing. But the big question is, why? Why do we bash Americans? We don't do this to people from other predominantly English-speaking countries like Australia or Canada. So we have to look at
Australians do get it.
I think so.
Absolutely.
And we get it from Australians big time, don't we?
Yeah.
Do you know what my take is on it, especially pronunciations and stuff like that? And is if I'm talking to someone and they go, "I'm going to get an herb," I know exactly what they mean.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. I know that's made of aluminum. I know exactly what they mean.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit how you say it.
Things like that don't bother me at all.
Same, don't bother me. I'm just like, yeah, I know what you mean.
We say things differently in Manchester than they might do down
we do.
south or
Yeah.
in Scotland or
Bath.
Wales or Bath. Yeah, a lot say Bath, don't they? We say Bath. The pronunciation, that don't bother me at all.
No.
And we always know what they mean anyway. The tomatoes, things like
And
that.
it's just the arrogance of like some people when they try and correct people for different things that someone's got wrong or made a slight mistake on, or
As
whatever.
if their way
As if
has
their
to be
way is-
right.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know. You get the grammar police as well, on social media, and then I only correct someone when they have a go at someone else and they've spelled it wrong.
Yeah.
Then I go back and put,
Yeah.
hang on a minute,
Yeah.
I wonder how
VAR.
much of this goes back to present history and America joining the Second World War quite late, because that'll affect our grandparents and potentially our parents, where there might have been anti-American sentiment at that point that our boys are out there dying to fight fascism, and you guys are umming and ahhing about it for too long.
I
You
don't
know
know.
what I
I
mean?
don't hold a grudge that long.
No, none of us do.
I don't know how it works out.
wondering.
I mean, I've done history and stuff before, but it's never occurred to me that they might have been holding out American. They weren't there when they should have been. I mean, it wasn't their war to start with, was it? Because it was a European war, wasn't it?
It's true, but you could argue it wasn't ours, although we were allies with Poland when they got invaded.
It's a thing that people always say. It's the land of opportunity, the USA, and people criticise it and bash America, but everyone given the opportunity would probably want to go there.
Yeah, make something.
A massive amount of people would want to go there, high percentage.
Yeah,
and it's the same with migrants we get coming into our country. When it's I'd welcome anyone that wants to go anywhere. No one's a tree where you have to stay in the country you're in.
No,
I've lived as an immigrant in many countries around the world, and you see that sort of like some people have a real tendency to dislike you as an immigrant, and you're like, I just keep away from you.
It's fear of the other a little
exactly,
bit, I think, in a lot of cases. But that the reason I say that is I've heard older fellas talk about the Second World War in that context, and the fact that they joined late and all this sort of stuff. It's not. I don't know enough about it to know if that's what happened or anything.
But then people have like
they probably hate everyone that's a bit different.
They hate other people as well. For
racist and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then people about the war, they think, oh, look, the Americans are coming and won the war for us, and then they can't win, can they? People accuse them of sort of like taking all the credit for it as well. You know, but you can't win, can you? You either want them to join you in the war or you don't.
The
And
point was to stop the rise of fascism, and that's what happened. It doesn't matter.
I wasn't even.
oh yeah.
No, precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I think you were right there. You hit the nail on the head by saying a lot of the people who have those sentiments are probably bigoted as well, or racist, or all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
There tends to be like a load of opinions that people have, and if they think that, they probably think that, and that as well, don't they?
Yeah.
And a lot of the people saying the anti-American stuff probably are also.
Yeah. But you say to that guy with the American diner, whatever he had. Where was it? What area was it in? Brighton.
Yeah.
You give him the opportunity. Hey, take your American diner and go and open it in Atlanta, Georgia, and and see what happens. You're going to get a lot more trade and a lot more business, and he'll jump at the chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll be like, I can own my own American diner. You get a green card, get your visas all set up and everything like that, and you go over there and trade over there. You'll soon love Americans.
Yeah.
Because it suits you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't suit you. It's easy to give it all that.
Well, it's ignorance, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Because that person probably doesn't know any, hasn't experienced any.
Yeah.
It's easy, and that's the bigoted view and all that sort of stuff, isn't it?
Well, it's ignorance about tarring everyone with the same brush as well, thinking that every American's loud and stuff like that. But it's not the case, is it? You get loud British people as well, don't you? And
of course you do.
You get it all across the globe. Plenty of them.
One of them.
We know where they're from as well. So,
But the other side of it as well, it's like saying, the way he's describing certain stuff about when people don't like things is, I don't eat fish because it's horrible. You ever tried it? No. How do you know then? Well, I don't like the smell.
Didn't say anything.
I've tried fish.
It's true. We saw. Got a video.
But it's certain things like you don't know until you try it. If you don't like Americans, you might only see Americans in the movies, on the TV. The odd one that travels the world, sort of like that you've come across. But you might go to San Diego and have the best time in your life with the residents there, or wherever it may be in the USA, and have the best time, and they will look after you, and you'll get the best service, you'll get the best weather, sort of like in certain things for whatever you want to do. So if you want to see foliage and stuff, you get the best of that. Everyone will take that opportunity. So it's all right bashing all these people. It's an easy target, is what I think. And it's stereotypical, easy target of arrogant people and ignorant people who don't want to go over and socialise in a different culture.
Yeah, you're right.
And embed themselves in that culture. Until you've done it and you've tried it, you can't,
don't moan about it.
Don't moan about it.
Do you think because they're the biggest economy in the world, and it's like the absolute
biggest in the,
but they're also the absolute like epitome of capitalism and stuff like that. There's a lot of political like bombs people can throw at them in that sort of way.
Yeah, absolutely there is.
And do you think there's any anti-American propaganda that we're subject to, just in general? Because you've got like when Brexit was happening and it was going to be all this chlorinated chicken was going to come over to Britain, and it's low grade shit American chicken. And I've eaten chicken in America, and it was stunning compared to our little shitty hot wings that are like that.
Yeah,
I was eating these beast hot wings with Frank's hot sauce all over it. It's beautiful. I'd eat them all day.
You're paying for it now.
I know. I'm just tacking on mass before I get shredded, but that's another point.
Let's finish this.
Things. Firstly, America is a big dog in the world. It's the biggest dog, perhaps, in the world. Has been since World War II. We're very familiar with that idea. So in the present day, if we're ignoring history, as some are wont to do, are we simply looking at how America is a big dog and applying envy to that? Let's not forget, Britain also thinks of itself as sort of the greatest country in the world. It just uses different terminology. It's very proud of what it's achieved, and rightfully so. I mean, we gave a lot to the world of music. We've given a lot to the world of technology, to the world of sport, etc., etc. And so when another country comes along and does all these things sort of bigger and grander and is itself extremely proud of its efforts, perhaps we look at that with a tinge of envy. I'd be lying if I said we didn't. And at the same time, there is respect. I think there is respect back in England for the United States. It's a weird sort of back and forth, a Jekyll and Hyde personality that we have toward America. But some other things, through television and through media, we are granted, or rather given, an idea of what Americans are like. So we'll more than occasionally see news stories like this one. When we see news reports like this, which I should say are very isolated, but nonetheless very eye-catching and loud.
Florida man calls 911 over missing beer so many times he gets arrested.
I'm thinking Carlos Bueno Mir is not really American.
Well, he's definitely Latin American if he is.
But he might be, you know what I'm saying though? That's because he lives in Florida.
Yeah.
He might be from Britain.
I tell you what, if you watch any of the police, what do you call it, the where they answer the phones. The
911 calls.
Yeah, if you ever watch any of those programs and look at all the muppets that phone in this country for similar reasons.
Oh yeah,
we get headlines like that. You know, I've seen. Have you ever read the Sunday Sport?
Yeah.
These headlines like that. You know.
Yeah.
So,
but you get that worldwide again, don't you? Get it everywhere.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Crazy people everywhere that are going to phone the cops.
If my beer kept going missing, I think I'd call the police.
News reports, we have this tendency to assume, I think, through the frequency of it, that all Americans are like this, when in fact, through my own experience, I found it to be not the case at all. You know, I think most Americans I interact with, while just like everyone else in the world may have their own neuroses that are unique to themselves and things of that nature, mostly aren't committing very bizarre crimes in Florida. I think that, you know, partly when we want to talk about British attitudes toward America, you have to remember that Britain just likes to moan. I mean, we do. We're a nation of moaners. I'm not a nation, but I am a moaner by nature because of, I think, my upbringing. But I tend to reserve that for things like the weather or the food that I'm about to eat tonight. It's not usually about a group of people from a nation, because let's remember that America is such a diverse nation that how could you really pigeonhole everybody into the same category? It can't be done. To that extent, it is impossible, I think, to bash Americans. You could bash a particular American for something terrible that he or she did, but to do it to a whole nation of people is very short-sighted in my view. But don't feel too bad about that, America, because we don't just reserve it for you. We do something very similar to the French, and for similar reasons as well.
In this, oh no, not in this video. About 2 videos ago, we did that with the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not wrong there, is he?
Both linguistically based and also imperially based, historically speaking. So, you know, when I see a tweet like that I showed here at the beginning of the video, I almost wish I could encapsulate all of these thoughts into one video and reply to that tweet with said video. And now I can. I win. And so that is why we, /they/the British, don't slash the British. It's not the Revolutionary War. That's why the British bash Americans. Thanks for watching. Thank you for watching this.
That was good.
Yeah, he's good, Larry. Well, Larry,
he puts together a decent video, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah, he's really good. I like him.
Well thought about as well. He wasn't just going for fighting back against that tweet.
Yeah,
he's just
absolutely.
discussing it.
And he's lived there. He's lived in both places as well, so he gets an understanding of, you know, the different people. And I think he's in the Midwest, isn't he? So I think was he in Indianapolis or somewhere like that? Was he based or something? Sort of like that area.
Yeah, rings a bell, that
Chicago.
one.
So
I think he was in Chicago at one point.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So he's got experience of it, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So, you know, he's been there, lived there, 11 years, is it? I think he's there. So
what you've got in America is America are very open in the media. You know, you go anywhere in the world and you get their media channels on every TV. You go to China, CNN. You go to New Zealand, CNN, and it's American. You know, you get your Wolf Blitzers of the world and people like that. They're all on the TV channels.
Yeah.
Anderson Cooper. They're all well known globally. The global newsreaders. So you see them all the time. And USA are very open in their news. They're quite happy to announce that, you know, there's been a school shooting. That's what they do. They broadcast the news globally. How many school shootings do we hear in China? Or how many? When you go to America, how many Chinese news channels are on the TV? Or how many Australian news channels are on TV? Not many.
Absolutely.
Not many. And you don't hear about their news because they don't report it widely as like the USA do.
so I suppose what you're saying is they're more open and transparent on
Correct.
the news,
So it looks like-
even when it's to their detriment.
Correct.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Looks like
So,
more
yeah.
bad things happening because they're not afraid to.
Because you're getting
broadcast it.
bombarded. I can put 7 or 8 USA news channels on my TV at home. Yeah.
Yeah,
I probably get more than that than I get bloody UK news.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet.
Don't know.
I've
Yeah.
got loads since I changed TV. I don't have to have an aerial with my TV, but it's got like Samsung TV. It's called,
Yeah.
and loads of. I've got so many American channels now that are news channels and stuff that I didn't have before. So you're right.
But that's what it comes down to. And people always, you know, and people say they're bigger and better. Do you know what? I've got news for you. They are bigger and better. Everything they do is bigger, and everything they do is better. Accept
They
it.
don't do fish and chips better.
Who says?
Fish, chips and
That's
peas.
your opinion.
I've seen Gordon Ramsay over there, so I'm borrowing his opinion, and I've seen footage of it, so I can tell.
But again, they don't do it. Do you know why? Because it doesn't sell.
No, that's,
So what
that's a
sells
fair
and, what
point.
sells them profitable and in business side, that's why it's the land of opportunity. You're going to do fish and chips in America, you'll smash it if that's the case. No, people don't want it, so they won't have it because you've got cuisine that suits their nation.
Yeah, and it is pure stodge, fish and chips, and like, you know, in a land where I know, like, it's one of the most obese nations, isn't it? One of, because we did a thing where they showed the chart, but actually on the other side of it, there's so many shredded people that are in great shape that aren't eating fish and chips all the time.
You're also saying fish and chips over. You
It was a
put in
joke,
fish.
to be
I know, yeah. But what you're saying is fish. When we serve fish over here, if you went in a shop and said fish and chips, you're going to get a battered cod, and French fries, potato chips, but
big chunk
chips, right? What about if you go to say Louisiana, right, and you're getting crawfish? What's the difference? Fish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah.
I think to truly experience a culture and a country, you've got to go over there and visit.
And I think crawfish in Louisiana will smash cod from Whitby.
Battered cod.
Yeah.
Possibly. Strong possibility. Yeah, cod isn't actually the strongest tasting fish. It's quite a non-event, really.
So when you go that fish and chips route, I've just proved the point of fish.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's
and
that's what British people come to. They always stand up for what we believe in. That's what we're saying. We're very proud of what we've done and what we've achieved. But at the same time, we've been taken over. We're not the number one anymore.
Yeah.
Don't know what happens. It's a cycle that goes on.
I think you should be proud of who you are and where you're from.
Absolutely.
But I think that's right for every nation. You should take pride in the things you do well and stuff. And the world would be a better place if everyone did.
I think every nation does something better than other nations
doesn't
anyway.
mean-
I think it just depends what it is. But
it doesn't mean other people are shit if you're proud of what you
No,
do.
it-
But
well,
what
that's what I'm saying.
What you're doing,
Yeah,
you're contributing to society. So if you might be the best singer, we produced some great music from over here.
Yeah.
You know, way back for when the Beatles were in there, all the way up to modern day Oasis, Ed Sheeran, whoever you want to go down, whichever what suits your genre sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you've brought that to society, and people will use that as a benchmark, and then get better than what they are.
Yeah.
So you'd have had people who've got more number ones than the Beatles, and more number ones than the Spice Girls, and more number ones than whoever it may be from their country.
Yeah.
And with the social media, we brought a lot of technology to the table. People have built on that and made form different parts of social media, which means now people in Turkmenistan can be a great singer and then get noticed worldwide on YouTube platform or wherever it may be.
Of course, worldwide.
Whereas that never used to exist. You never heard of anyone from Turkmenistan 20 years ago.
No.
Before you could sort of like network around the world.
Yeah.
Unless you went to Turkmenistan.
That was an interesting thing when this Russia-Ukraine conflict started, the amount of Russian YouTube channels that got demonetized overnight.
I saw that.
And you think that something like that has never happened in history before.
The Russian influences in Dubai, now they can't buy Coco Chanel products, so they can't promote it on their channels.
Yeah.
So they killed all that off as well. So it's,
Well, it's such, I know like you can do government sanctions and things like that, but this is a private entity sanctioning other private entities in another country for a war. It just shows how crazy the world is.
It shows how much people brought to society, and it's been built on, so other people have got better and better. And when you've got more people working on something, genuinely usually gets a better end product. So you're going to try America anyway. So when you go over, you'll see, you'll get a taste first-hand taste of what America's about in New York City, baby.
that's what I mean. I think you have to do. I think you have to do it firsthand.
If you want to be my lover.
Oh Jesus Christ, you're having a laugh, aren't you? Yeah, you've got to experience it yourself and get come up with your own ideas about it and your own, influences and, ideas.
I'll go over there quite a lot in the future. It's complicated with young kids at the moment.
Of course
but
I can imagine.
My next one, obviously I've done Vegas, which isn't a representation whatsoever of America. It's just like Disneyland, isn't it? But New York is next on the list, and it'll probably be like a 4-day romantic break sort of thing.
Yeah, my missus wants to go to Nashville.
Nice.
So she's big into the country music, isn't she? So she wants to sort of head down that way. And
I think
it's the place to go then.
Theo Vaughn lives in Nashville.
For me though, I'm like country music. I like country music, but it's not like doesn't smell of the hustle and bustle that I want from New York, Chicago, LA. I don't fancy LA, to be honest.
Yeah,
I've started watching a program recently called Somebody Feed Phil or Everybody Feeds Phil.
It's from Everybody Loves Raymond. Somebody Feed Phil, it's called.
He's the writer of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah, it's called Somebody Feed Phil.
And they showed his wife, and I was like, where do I know her from? And she was Robert's wife from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Ah, okay.
He was in Nashville, and he was going around all the food places and stuff like that, and I was just absolutely drooling watching it. Such a great tame program to watch.
Well, my mate's wedding's coming up, and we're looking at stag do's, and he's a country fan as well, and he said, why don't we go Nashville? And I'm like, it's a bit far.
Again.
It's a bit far, and I'm thinking, do
a bit of line dancing, drink some whiskey.
Yeah. So I'm trying to take him to Ibiza instead.
Magaluf, here we come.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, enjoyed that.
Video.
Cheers for that, Lawrence. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Don't forget, like and subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers. Guys.